Hello, everyone. We are live. Oh, I should tweet this because I'm terrible at promoting this show when we're live. So I'm going to do that now while I remember. Because I don't know how to go through and get the preview link beforehand.
Like the preview tweet that
Yeah,
Snell always
like we'll
does?
be we'll be live at this link in 10 minutes or whatever. I'm like,
Scheduled tweets. Those are people who actually know how to actually schedule things, you know?
Snell's been doing this for 5 years. I'm sure I'll get on that page eventually. Small bits of news. You know what? I should hashtag some of this stuff. Bad Batch. Oh, the Bad Batch got its emoji back on Twitter.
I thought they only do that for like the first week.
Oh no, it's had an emoji all season, but then all of a sudden last week the emoji disappeared, and now it's back.
Nathan is in the chat.
Hello, Nathan.
Yeah, he looked at his copy and he said he doesn't have the folding page problem.
Interesting. I don't know. I'll be link. What's in chat? Hi, Nathan. All right. We are ready to roll now that I have officially promoted the show. That's half the stuff I don't do when Nathan's here, so I already feel more productive than usual. Sorry, Nathan. Oh no. So, official podcast audio in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of a Star Wars Alliance podcast, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm your host today, Katie Rinchler, as always, and with me, Clay. Clay, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I will admit, though, I was like an hour early. I got everything set up, and then I clicked on our scheduled video here, and it was like 9 o'clock. Now, it's 10 o'clock over there where you are. But usually, from what I remember, you guys go live pretty early. So I was like, oh, I need to get ready. I'm going to be okay. Let's jump in here. And I was like, crap. I'm early for like the first time. So I was just kind of twiddling through, the book and watching some Star Wars stuff and reading on some stuff. So I got prepared. I have done reviews with you guys, but I've never co-hosted. So this will be fun. This will be fun.
So you've hosted for The Last Jedi.
That is true. But see, that's a review. That was a review, though. I feel like that was more of a review episode, not really. We are going to be talking again, reviewing this book, but we're also going to be doing other stuff as well. So
that's fair enough. No, I appreciate you stepping in for Nathan today. Nathan had some family, though he is in the chat. So hi, Nathan, officially. So I gotta ask Clay. You're not. So I know the last time you shaved was for the Geekverse charity event. So what's the occasion now?
This was because I had a really messy time with some spaghetti last week, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. It's like, because it's one thing that people say it's kind of gross. I think it's just normal for me, just because of how long I've had the mustache and the beard. But when you eat, of course, you get something on your upper lip and everything else.
Yeah.
For people who have mustache, it gets just all on the mustache, and you get into this horrible, disgusting habit of getting your lower lip and just scraping it into your mouth. This time with the spaghetti, it was just like too much, and I was just like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't. So I just shaved everything the next morning, and everybody at my job made fun of me. I FaceTime with my wife during my lunch break at that time. She was kind of shocked at it. It's been a while since I have fully shaved. Like you said, it has been since the charity stream for Geekverse, and that was 7 months ago, almost 8. Holy crap!
Yeah, it was November.
Yeah.
So no, I just had to ask. So y'all have fun imagining that Clay with spaghetti in his beard. But now the podcast paperwork side of things. As I said, Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network. We have shows 6 out of 7 days a week. So you've got on Mondays, you've got World's Finest True Believers every other week, and then Rangers Alliance. And then on Tuesdays, you've got DC Alliance, which Clay hosts, and Clay also hosts Ranger Alliance. So there you go. There's 2 shows you can see him on. Wednesdays, superhero discussions. Thursdays is going to be Star Wars Alliance every other week. And starting, well, I guess in 3 weeks, this schedule change will take effect. So Thursdays are typically my day. So with Star Wars Alliance 1 week and Slice Film the next. And now what's going to be happening is Star Wars Alliance is going to stay every other week on Thursdays, which on some weeks will go every week. It just kind of depends on what material's dropping. And then Slice of Film will be moving to Sundays in 3 weeks. So there's kind of a schedule update for you guys. And then on Fridays, you've got Marvel Alliance. So a little bit of changes coming. So just kind of keep that in mind. Clay, did I miss anything?
No,
We have some
because
surprises coming.
there is
but
gonna be a announcement on tomorrow on Monday on
ooh,
DC Alliance. A guest host will be announcing something new coming to the GUA. So there's a little tease. So make sure
ooh.
to at this point when you're listening to this, it's already happened. But if you want to go back and listen, go back and listen.
Yes. So that's Monday. If you're here live or if you're watching on Sunday, then you know to come back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go, guys. Make sure y'all check that out. We do have ads in this podcast. We unfortunately don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how many times you hear the ad in the episode, nor how loud they get. So, excuse me. The warnings just kind of, we will give y'all a warning when they occur live, but just so y'all know now, we don't. Yeah, words are hard. And then the other thing is we do have a Patreon, where we have 2 tiers. $1 helps keep the kyber crystals charged around here. Boo, Nathan. Boo ads, boo. I'm sorry. Well, I'm really sorry. It helps support the network. Okay. Um, $1 helps keep the kyber crystals charged around here. The $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, and any early episodes we may drop. And if you can't support us on Patreon, which is perfectly fine, we appreciate all of our listeners. One very good way to help the network is to put a review on your favorite podcatcher, as it does help put the network into the feeds of other listeners who may not be following us on social media. Last but certainly not least, we will be talking about spoilers for episodes 12 and 13 about the Bad Batch today, which there's not much there, but gotta say it. And then we will also be talking about Path of Destruction, which is a Legends book in the Star Wars universe. It is the first book in the Darth Bane trilogy, and Darth Bane still does exist in the canon world, but his story has not been explored to the depth that it was explored in this trilogy. So I've read this book before several times. I've never read the other 2 in the trilogy. So we will be going through the trilogy, kind of jumping in those episodes, kind of as stuff gets read. So there you have it, guys. Nathan jumping in the chat to also remind me of all the paperwork stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, like and share the YouTube video. Do the YouTube things.
And also, just because I did edit your last podcast, remember if you are wanting to interact with the show, even after this live broadcast, make sure to comment on the
Yes.
video, and we will answer any questions.
Yes, definitely. So, with that, we're going to jump into the news side of things. So, a whole lot of news dropped in the past 2 weeks, which is always nice because news is my least favorite portion because I'm not like a huge, I don't like reading like the synopsises of books. So, like, there was an Out of Shadows synopsis, like, not synopsis. Synopsis I'm okay with, but like early sneak peek into like a part of the book, an
Yeah,
excerpt. That's
yeah,
the word.
excerpt. That's the word you're looking for.
Yeah. So Out of Shadows excerpt dropped. I'm not an excerpt reader. Nathan isn't either, so we don't typically cover those on here, just because we like to kind of get into the book. Because excerpts are typically the best parts of the book, like pulled out for you to read early, to get you to buy the book. But uh, we have some Obi-Wan Kenobi news from Sung Kang. The show's been filming for almost 3 months now, and Sung Kang, obviously his latest movie came out. It was Fast and Furious 9, which I covered on Slice of Film with Joe. So shameless plug. I'll drop that episode in the description box so you can go check that out. Um, so he spoke to Rotten Tomatoes in an interview, uh, and not much is known about his character. Like, I love the fact that the cast dropped before they started shooting because obviously things are going to get put out. People are gonna sneak like the paparazzi pictures on set, like try and figure stuff out. So I liked that, but not much else is known about his character. So he said Song described the mood on set and said the feeling that I get on set is every single crew member, you look in their eyes and it's like a kid going, I grew up watching Star Wars, like this is my dream to be here. To see one of the Star Wars characters or Darth Vader character or one of the Jedi's walking around. It's really cool. So we do know he's on set with Darth Vader. So, um, where was okay? So there was I can't find the exact quote, but somebody said he was the fifth brother Inquisitor. We're just gonna jump right to it.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
this is very interesting. Because from what I remember, the fifth brother was, of course, seen in Rebels.
Yes.
Um, of course, that was when uh, you see, like, I think the first time you see him was right before the battle between Ahsoka and Darth Vader on, I can't remember
Yeah.
which planet that was. But that was the first time I remember seeing him in the show.
Chewie,
Yes.
for those watching.
I am super excited about seeing, because this is technically live action wise our first time seeing an Inquisitor. Uh,
There's been
him,
rumors we're gonna get other Inquisitors in this show. So
yes.
this would but yes, this would be the first time we're seeing Inquisitors live on screen.
So him being in here gives me hope to seeing the other Inquisitors,
Mm-hmm.
which I have grown to love with Fallen Jedi on the PS4 game.
Yep.
Uh, and of course, you've seen Inquisitors in Clone Wars and other books and stuff as well. Just the expansion of these stories into live action and being able to see them. Uh, Really interesting choice for the character. Um, I want to know how much of like his story we're going to see though, because I'm pretty sure that character um, is, spoilers for a now 6-year show for Rebels. I'm pretty sure the exact same episode that we see him, that I was talking about when on the fight between Ahsoka and Darth Vader. I'm pretty sure he dies that same episode.
I think so.
Yeah. So of course this would have to be before that, uh, but I'm still interested. I'm so interested to see how he and Obi-Wan interact. And if that's the case, we know that like we know that Darth Vader is going to be in the show. So is there going to be a lot of interaction between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, or is it just going to be Darth Vader taking the fifth brother into like a command of like, hey, hunt this guy down, you know?
I gotta think. Like Sun King is too popular to relegate him to minor roles. Now, granted, I've said that about other things, and then all of a sudden relegated to smaller roles. Like I would have thought Owen Wilson would have been in every single episode of Loki. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Because I like, so yeah, it's just you've got to kind of wonder what it could be. I'm curious to see because they've got Rosario Dawson. Nathan said seeing a Jedi walk around at this time, it's only old Ben, Yoda. I'm assuming you mean Caleb, and Ezra and Cal. So who's in the show, or is it flashback? For me, I think you could possibly see like because we know this takes place around the 10-year mark, which is early for Rebels, but you could also see like the timeline expand because it's 6 episodes. What are they going to cover in 6 episodes? I'm I'm just really curious because I know this was originally like supposed to be a movie, but now it's like more. So
I could see and this is pure speculation, of course. I could see the last episode possibly taking a huge time jump to kind of show you closer to where we would see Ben when it comes to A New Hope. But
okay.
I think because like Jedi could be used as like singular or plural, but I still think
Yeah.
it's still singular. I still think he is talking about when he says seeing a Jedi walk around. I think he's talking about Ben.
So the quote fully says one of the Jedi's walking around. So it is a Jedi,
Yeah.
but multiple Jedi. I believe we know Moses Ingram is she's going to be carrying a lightsaber, and I believe she's going to be an Inquisitor, or potentially I could see like an Asajj Ventress flashback because she's training with one, but I mean it was at the start of the
Oh.
casting, so
Yeah.
for me, I would love to see, and I know kind of it's been talked about a lot, but they've got Rosario Dawson. Uh, Nathan, you're killing me. Nathan said no hands mace. Um, I'm just, I would love to see like we've already got Hayden Christensen there. Let's see like Obi-Wan like envisioning the Ahsoka Darth Vader fight right there and just kind of seeing both
If
of them.
they show that in live
I'm
action,
gonna ball.
oh,
I'm gonna ball.
oh man. Like even if they were to like hint at it in the sense of like Vader like remembering it, like you said, and if you just hear the dialogue of it, oh, chills. I'm already
Oh,
getting chills.
yeah. So that's what I'd love to see. I'd love to see that take place where we got Rosario Hayden in the Darth Vader costume. Like, go for it. But I do think I would have to think Obi-Wan's we know he's getting roped in for some rebellion activities, but I'd also think that he's going to be helping some refugee Jedi involved. Who that could be, I don't know. But I would think you've got some involvement here with people trying to escape the order, inquisitors being hunted down because no one like there's got to be a specific reason for inquisitor involvement, and it can't be because they found Ben and they tracked Ben down to Tatooine, because then what you have to kind of explain why Ben's been here all these years with no extra people coming to find him in A New Hope. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But we'll see what happens. It's supposed to debut. The show's supposed to debut in summer 2022. So, the last bit of news we have to talk about is Comic Con at Home had a Star Wars: The High Republic panel, which got into some depths with the current Wave 2 publishing, as well as the Wave 3 that's going to be coming starting in January. Some really cool stuff that I was excited to see. But that will be the end of phase 1, which is the Light of the Jedi. The second phase is called the Quest of the Jedi, so I assume that will start in the summer. And I hate that they're sticking to like 6 months with book debuts, but there's only 5 authors involved, so it's like everybody's got to get work done. So
You have to see it as in a way of like for movies, right? And I know there's some ridiculous people out there on Twitter recently that are like, "Oh my gosh, this movie's taking 6 months to film." Blah blah blah. It'll
yeah,
take forever for a movie production, right? So you have to meet expectations as far as just a little bit when it comes to books. And I write reviews. I am no script writer. I am no author, but I'm sure it takes some time, especially when they are treating the High Republic like a very connective universe, just like Star Wars always is.
yeah.
So you have to talk with editors, you have to talk with other authors and things like that. So I'm not too worried. I just want the time to move faster to
Yes,
be able to read them.
because the Rising Storm ending, I need to know how Belle reacted. Like, tell me now. Um, but anyways, so I've got the 10 highlights and reveals from the Star Wars High Republic article pulled up from StarWars.com. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and share this because I just like why not? So first up, he said Kevin Scott, when he wrote The Rising Storm, his wall looked like a detective's office, which I can imagine trying to trace all those perspectives and everything, and like it's like so. Um, he's also written the audio drama, which is coming out end of August, which is called The Tempest Runner, and he says, uh, kind of when predicting his ongoing storytelling because he's got his Marvel comic and then he's got the graphic novel which features Ty York and then he's got the Tempest Runner. And so he said, kind of predicting it, a Jedi joins the storm, which Creve Trennis, that I believe is High Republic number 7. It's got her putting on a Nihil helmet. So
Mhm.
I'm interested to see how that goes. I'm waiting for trades. Like, please, I need my trade already. That's the right term, right? Like,
Yes. Trade
okay.
paperback trade. It's the same thing.
Cool. I did something comic related. And then he said, as for the original audio drama Tempest Runner, Lorna D behind bars, which isn't much compared to the synopsis that uh we already know from like the description. But Free Comic Book Day, Daniel Jose Older will be debuting his or he will be a part of Free Comic Book Day with the High Republic Adventures, and Ram Jamaram will feature prominently in that comic. So
We should
um
have already had this book, but it was delayed. This
this
Edge
Edge
of
of
Balance.
Balance,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm pretty sure the original announcement was for the summer, and then uh, it got delayed all the way until September. And it comes out September 7th. So I'm super excited about this
Yeah,
manga.
and Matt's gonna read it with me. I'm so excited to see what he says. He's a manga person, so I can make him read this. Um, the Wave 3 young adult novel will be penned by Daniel Jose Older, and it is entitled Midnight Horizon. Um, he said it's a chaotic mess in the best way possible, in the best possible way. Excuse me. Um, and Older, all I've got to say is if you can beat what Cavan did in the Rising Storm for a chaotic mess that was absolutely beautiful. Like, just give me the book now, please. Just give me the book now. And it will. So this manga, The Edge of Balance, will focus on Jedi Knight Lily Torasi in the time after the Great Disaster, as she helps to resettle refugees, which isn't necessarily your typical book in Star Wars universe, but it'll be interesting to see. It also kind of would explain why it was originally put out to be in the summer and now has been delayed, because the the great disaster is the hyperspace incident in the Light of the Jedi. So kind of jumping back in time from the year, because we're a year forward in wave 2 with the Rising
Mhm.
Storm and Out of Shadows, but now we're going backwards. So interesting to see, but still gonna read it. So, and she will be doing the wave 3 middle grade reader entitled Mission to Disaster. So, and she said, not ominous at all. Probably sarcastic, but um Light of the Jedi was the right for Charles Soule, Light of the Jedi was the right book at the right time for the right audience. Uh, Although he wrote it before the pandemic of 2020, when it arrived and landed at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, it launched a new era of storytelling at the moment in our own history when the pandemic was still dominating headlines. So he says he still gets messages from people that it was a nice rallying cry of hope. So very nice. Probably this is probably the most exciting thing I have for Wave 3. We are getting a comic purely focused on Markian Ro's backstory.
Is that how you
Well,
pronounce his name?
that that is how you pronounce his name according to Charles Soule. Obviously, in the audiobooks, it has been pronounced Martian Ro.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Everyone's like,
Markian.
you can take Martian Ro from my cold dead hands. I'm not really picky. Obviously, it's kind of up to interpretation. Mark Thompson is a god in audio narration, so I will probably be sticking with Martian Ro.
I am super excited about this. When I saw the announcement on Twitter, that helmet has become like a very like every single time I see it, I'm just like, oh, that son of a bitch. You know, I he ugh, Rising Storm. It has completely just enveloped my mind of how I'm going to be seeing the High Republic from now on. And kind of how, in the same way, and we said this in our review, the same way Empire Strikes Back did with the original trilogy. So the way people have like learned this hatred for Darth Vader and for Palpatine through Empire Strikes Back, like that's how I feel toward Markion, bro. And now knowing that how many pages, I know the page count was confirmed, but I can't remember how
It
many.
is two 30-page issues.
230. So a total of 60. Uh this two-parter of his little solo comic is going to be so much fun. There's so much we don't know about him. There's so much we don't know about his family and his heritage and why he is so hell-bent on the
On
dis-
the destruction of the Jedi.
yeah. So I want to know why, and I hope this gives us a little bit more insight on that.
Yeah. So Soul said the he promised to expand on the very complicated backstory of the Eye of the Nihil, Mark Yanro. He's absolutely terrifying. He's charming in a way. You'll meet him and he'll talk to you and you'll have a good time. Maybe he'll buy you a beer, a space beer, I guess. But then the minute you leave the room, his face goes blank. It's all just a mask.
I don't know. Every single time I have seen him interact with somebody new, he is still very cold-hearted and just like steel-toned. Like I've never seen him portrayed or heard him portrayed in the books that he's a part of that tells me that description. Like
So,
he's cold, he's calculated. I I'm sure to be able to like manipulate his way into things, he can be that guy, but we haven't seen it yet. So if that's going to be shown here, I want to see it.
Yep, me too. I'm excited to get this. This will probably be the first time I purchase a comic straight away, so I can get to read it because I'm like, I need to know more. Uh, but this is Soul's next endeavor in the High Republic with Wave 2. He didn't have anything, so with Wave 3 here he goes with this comic. So really exciting to see. Did not get a direct debut date. But yeah. Claudia Gray said Geode was her favorite, is the most fun and surprisingly expressive for her to write. Um, and I'm just like, really? Of all the characters you developed, just really?
Well, I feel like Geode is just like a very, very much less talkative Chewie, a less
Oh,
talkative R2D2, a less talkative C3PO, you know?
but that's really hard to illustrate in a book, don't you think? And like of all the
It,
characters, I would have said like Leo or somebody would have been a good one.
it is, but the because he debuted Into Darkness, right? Geo did. So like the way they write him is you write all of the emotions of said character, right? And then Jude is always there at the right time. And there is no expressions, there is no words, and you only get this kind of feeling that the other character is getting. And you're like, you know what, Geode, you're right. And it almost plays as if like they always knew the answer to the questions that they're asking themselves. But that's why Geode works so well, because even in a relationship in real life, like you're asking people for advice even though you know the right answer, but you need to hear it from somebody else. That's Geode's character. And I can
Okay.
appreciate that.
Interesting. I'm probably gonna have to reread Into the Dark. I'll probably start that after I finish my other book, Knight Errant, because I gotta get prepared for Out of the Shadows, anyways. So, um, and the last bit of the puzzle for the High Republic Wave 3, Claudia Gray will be pinning the third adult novel, which is entitled The Fallen Star. Dun, dun, dun. And that book is debuting January 18th. Del Rey did publish a date for that one. Um, so
And the tagline for Wave 3 is Star Wars The High Republic, the light of the Jedi goes dark.
yep.
Uh, it already went dark in Rising Storm. So how much darker can it be? Um, I'm so ready. If the Path of Destruction and the Bane trilogy has taught me anything, is that I love the dark side stories of Star Wars. Of course, I have finished all three books of the Bane trilogy. I finished the third one just last week, and so I read this one again this week, Path of Destruction, for this episode. And again, it's my only legacy Star Wars book that I've read, but this is setting the bar. So if anything goes below, I'm just like, I could easily say this might be my favorite moving forward. But again, Rising Storm, I would say is on par with all three books of the Bane trilogy, which is crazy to say. Um, but if Wave 3 can match that, I'm ready. I'm totally ready for it.
We will see what happens. Wave 3, The Light of the Jedi Goes Dark, begins January 2020, 2022. Why is that so hard for me to say? I don't know.
It's too many
Um,
twa sounds. Twa, 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 twa.
that's what it is. That's what it is. So again, just to kind of reiterate, Wave 3 coming. The Fallen Star will be by Claudia Gray, and that's a Delray book. So your old adult novel. Eye of the Storm will be a Marvel comic by Charles Soule. Mission to Disaster is by Justina Ireland, and that will be a middle grade book by Disney Lucasfilm Press. And Midnight Horizon is by Daniel Jose Older, and that is a young adult book, which will be coming from Disney Lucasfilm Press. So the only release date we have officially is Claudia Gray's book, The Fallen Star. I did have one thing to ask you. What do you think the star is?
Do you think it's Starlight Beacon?
I think it's Starlight Beacon.
That would be kind of crazy. To set it up as now, because it is canon, of course, we've never heard of Starlight Beacon. So it has to be destroyed sometime. To have it happen this early is kind of crazy.
It's an interesting choice. I would have said, okay, it's coming into phase 3. That's all it is. Like, kind of going in that direction. Um, but Nathan made a very good point. Have you read the Chiss Ascendancy books?
No.
Okay. I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but the Chiss homeworld is basically decimated. Like it was kind of wrecked by disaster. Only very few Chiss live on the actual homeworld. They've mostly spread out onto other planets. Um, but Nathan said, what if, and this is something that was kind of hit on at the end of book 2, what if their great disaster was Starlight Beacon crash, because we know it's in the Outer Rim and we know the unknown regions is fairly pulled in together. What if Starlight Beacon hit the Chiss homeworld when it crashed?
Ooh.
I don't know. Probably not going to happen with it being this early, because we're going to have to handle kind of the reaction to it
Mm-hmm.
in phase 2 and phase 3, obviously. But it was a good theory by Nathan, I thought. So
I like I said, I haven't dove into a whole bunch of the Star Wars novels. Now, I will say there is a ton on my pre-order list and wish list because of you two. Um, and I'm ready to dig into everything. Now, finding the time to be able to do
that's the
that,
bigger question.
that's the bigger question. I listen to a lot of podcasts at 2.5 speed. I don't listen to books at 2.5 speed often. If anything, I'll listen to it at 1.5 speed just to break away the little like spaces between
Yeah.
words to make it a little bit shorter for me. But I try to listen to everything like at normal speed so I can get every piece of information. Uh, so what was that? The one that
The
that you
Chiss Ascendancy books.
just Ascendancy books. Okay, okay, I will.
So they are a Thrawn prequel trilogy, and they're by Timothy Zahn. So then the third book to that trilogy comes out in November. So
Okay, so I have them here. I am setting them. Oh, one of them is already on my pre-order list, so that's good.
all right, y'all. Well, we're gonna take a quick ad break, and we're gonna come back to talk about the Bad Batch and the Path of Destruction. So stay tuned. And 3, 2, 1. And we are back. Thanks for listening, y'all. We really appreciate it. We always do. So let's knock out the Bad Batch before we go into Path of Destruction. The Path of Destruction, because I just need to get Bad Batch out of the way. Like it's just so we got. Oh yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. So episode 12, we got the end to kind of our Hera episode. Bad Batch comes in, rescues the group, rescues Cham Syndulla, everybody kind of pulls them off planet. We're good to go. 13, we go back to Ord Mantell, and they then need to rescue Sid. So what's going on? I guess we have 3 episodes left. 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 3 episodes left. Where is the plot? What's supposed to be happening? Do you know?
I so again, I think that you and Nathan said it best last episode. Was this series is the cameo show, unfortunately, when it comes to what we have seen in the last 4 episodes. And I said this on Super Civil Servants just this past Friday, is me personally, I understand the voice actress for Sid. I can't remember her name. She's a great voice actress. She's a great actress, and I can see why they wanted to keep her for majority of the show. But I feel like we should have been done with Sid a while ago. It's to move the plot forward with what, because I feel like this whole thing with Omega, that is where the plot should be. Because we've learned that she is highly sought after. There is a bounty on her head, and why?
We
Why
just kind
is
of
that?
forgot about her.
And exactly. And with 3 episodes left, I am afraid that next episode is going to be another filler, and the last two are going to be like a two-parter penultimate finale episode to kind of just rush the season to its end.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to like that.
No, it's really making me mad, and like I get cameos and everything, but they set a precedent with a 70-minute episode to start off the season. You're not telling me that they don't have the resources to put those Hera episodes together and make it make more sense.
You
Because why was the first Hera episode, the Hera and the Hera on Ryloth episode with a minute 30 seconds of the Bad Batch?
Yeah, you said, I think you tweeted about that. I totally agree. Uh Most of these two-parters or whatever could have easily been just one episode. And I understand that, again, there is a precedent for cartoons, unfortunately, that, oh, these cartoons are for quote unquote kids. And to keep kids interested, you need to keep these episodes shorter. I don't buy that whatsoever,
No.
because children also watch movies, and movies are not 20 minutes long. Uh,
Yeah.
Especially if you have a kid that is in love with the Star Wars universe, they're going to be able to sit through a 45-minute episode easy, easy. So I think they really did miss the mark on this show. As much as I wanted to love the Bad Batch as characters, I do, but there hasn't been much character development on anybody
Mm-mm.
other than Hunter, and maybe a little bit on Wrecker's part,
Yeah.
with him being so close to Omega. You haven't learned about anybody else. And even with Crosshair, we've gotten very minimal of him.
Yeah, and people were saying, oh, okay, Crosshair's prominently featured in Hera Part 1. I don't see that's how I'm not even paying attention to episode names at this point, y'all. Like, but in that episode, Crosshair's predominantly featured, and he's a part of the Bad Batch. There has been no move to pull him back in at all. He's going to be pulled back into the Bad Batch in the last 5 minutes of the last episode. That's how it's going to be, because that's just how the show's been working so far. And it's just, you can't tell me that that's character development on his part at all, because it's not. And it's like, I don't mind Star Wars being a small galaxy when it's done right. And this has not been done right at all. Like, the Martez is just coming in. That was probably the best cameo of the week episode, where we got actual Bad Batch character development and we still got to see people coming in. Like, this is just, it's maddening. And I love seeing Vanessa Marshall come back to voice Hera. I'm like the episode on its own was great, and I loved seeing Hera like start up kind of being a rebel. But it was not Bad Batch focused, which Bad Batch is the name of the show. And people are like, well, it's just showing you like the start of the Empire and everything. And I'm like, okay, but where's the Bad Batch? Because the Bad
We
Batch is the name of the show.
the problem is with those types of stories, it could have very easily been a Bad Batch episode featuring Hera.
Yeah.
That's the issue that I have. You could have started, okay, Hera is the one that is the one calling the Bad Batch, or like the first part of that two-parter showed, she interacted with the Bad Batch,
Mm-hmm.
but then like from then on, after the interaction, it should have been a Bad Batch centered episode.
Yeah.
Uh, just because, like, not taking shots at Nathan here, but just like the whole controversy over the new Masters of the Universe show, they're calling it, oh, this is the Tila show. Like, it was kind of Rebels. Like, that was the whole like joke that was happening with the last two episodes. It was just a prequel to Rebels. And technically you can say everything is a prequel to Rebels that happens before.
That My
But
Republic is a prequel to Rebels.
yeah, exactly. But like there's a reason why you show, of course, freaking oh shoot, I forgot the name of the droid. Freaking what's her droid's name? Jesus.
The droid's name. Chopper.
Yes. Yeah. So you show Chopper, you show her, like it's all fan service, and fan service is great. Like you said, it can work very, very well. But when you have an entire two episodes that have hardly anything to do with the main characters of your show, especially near the tail end of your season, that we know as of now, it may come like at the end of season or the end of the season finale that we may get like a season two. We don't know, but
Yeah.
it's doubtful because they're already setting up things for Rebels, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, I get it, having a small universe and kind of wanting to initiate a transition between Clone Wars and Rebels, but it needs to be its own show. Like, it's not going to survive going off of this. Like, if anything, go back to the arcs of Clone Wars. The arcs of Clone Wars never had like a one consistent like plot across the season. It was just a bunch of little arcs that kind of told a giant story across the Clone Wars timeline, which
Hmm.
that worked for me. And I think that worked for a lot of people because they know, okay, I'm once it kind of established a pattern, you're like, okay, I got these 4 episodes. Now I go into the next 4 episodes or next 3 episodes, whatever. So it's like, um, I don't want to lay into it too much because basically I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. But it's frustrating knowing what could be and how much they've pulled from The Mandalorian, in my opinion. Like, it's just kind of driving me insane. So, um, that's my biggest problem is I'm like, we've got 3 episodes left, and even the Sid episode, the episodes individually are fine, but as an interconnected story, it's just not doing it for me.
Yeah.
So, with that, passive destruction time.
Yes. 100%.
Okay. So the book is broken down into 3 parts. You've got um you've got Bane, starting off, he's a miner. He's lived as a miner basically his entire life on the planet oh gosh, I should bring up the Wikipedia on this. On the planet Apatros, I believe it is.
I believe so.
And so his father he was there with his father. His father was a drunk and kind of beat him up. And then Bane And so we get him on the planet, and then we have part 2, which is kind of like Bane. Bane is kind of revealed to be a force sensitive person by the Sith and is taken to Korriban to become a Sith acolyte. And then part 3 is kind of Bane coming into his own, discovering who he is. A lot of Darth Revan mentions in this part, which is cool. And then kind of developing the rule of 2 at the end of this. So
Yes.
that's a generic summary of the book. 30-second. There you go. um. So Clay, tell us your general thoughts on the book.
This book, I will tell you this. Of course, first book into Legacies, but not my first Star Wars book. Star Wars book was The High Republic. Interesting enough. So here, I really felt that the Bane trilogy was a whole different kind of magic when I opened this. And when I read this, it was like opening up like the first real series that I read was Harry Potter. And that's what Path of Destruction felt like. It was just like all of like, of course, Harry Potter is the good guys, and I don't know. I don't know why it felt like that because, like I said, I had already read some Star Wars books with the High Republic, but this felt like a completely different monster. So, reading this and finding out, because I think he wasn't known as Bane the entire time. He was actually, his name was Dez. So Dez, he being this miner that his father, you find out, died from a heart attack and drinking and just like, and you also found out that the mines were poisoning the mine workers. So the mix between alcoholism, the poison from the mines, as well as the stress on his heart, all played into account of his death, or so we thought. That comes later on in the story, but uh, him being alone, trying to fending off on his own, uh, and then learning that he has this gift of the Force, uh, and not necessarily knowing that it's the gift of the Force as well, really felt like this is a great start to read Star Wars for anybody who has not read a Star Wars book, um, because you get the almost innocence slash not innocence of a character. Because Dez is in complete survival mode. He lives all on his own. And uh, I say all on his own, but there was one particular character that he ended up like fighting and actually biting off his finger. I can't remember his name. Um, but he would kind of quote unquote look after Dez after Dez's father died. So like him being in complete survivor mode, being forced to go off planet and jump into uh, like the Sith Empire, like the whole being a soldier thing, like going into that, like from him being a survivor, him being forced into going into the army, and then learning his gift of the Force. Uh, it is a great introduction for somebody to jump into a Star Wars book or jump into Star Wars as a whole, just because you are kind of like not handheld, but it shows you little things of like, hey, this is what the Force can be like for somebody who doesn't necessarily know what it is. And that's why I said that it's almost, oddly enough, like a Harry Potter introduction book. It's just like, hey, here is somebody who doesn't know magic. Now they know magic. They were surviving. Now they are kind of forced into this, and now they know this whole entire world of magic, right? Same thing
That's a
with
very good analogy.
Dez going into uh, being in the Sith Academy,
Mhm.
throwing his old life away, becoming Darth Bane or becoming Bane. Um, and then, you know, the whole chaos ensues of his training and the introduction to, oh shoot, what is her name?
Githany? Githany?
Giffany. Giffany. So Giffany is a complete monster on her own, and
Oh, yeah, she shocks me at every turn. I'm like, dude.
I loved her character, and the reason why is like you see her as a Jedi, but you see her teaming up with a Sith first. That's the
Yeah.
very first thing you see. And of course, you're gonna have like the dialogue of like, oh, she's stunning. She has this like nuance about her, and she's like,
Yeah.
so she's like, she's good, but she's bad, and she's sexy, and like that's bad, but that's also good. Like, there's all these things that encompass like the trope of like evil women. It's really
Yep.
funny. But then, of course, she uses that to her advantage, just like any woman of the dark side would.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and you see it when she finally makes her way into the Sith Academy. Bane has like you see the dialogue of like how even Bane has noticed how she has seduced other people to kind of like get her way around the Sith Academy.
Mhm.
And every single what I love is that every single time that Giffany thinks she's pulling one over on Bane, Bane has seen it like hundreds of yards like in advance. Like, oh, I know she's doing this, but I'm gonna play along because she's actually gonna help me do this. I love it. I love the
Is
manipulation, the backstabbing, everything in this book is amazing.
But what did you think about when Githany goes to poison him at the end and she uses that rat wormex
Yeah,
poison or
the
whatever?
assassin type poison. Um,
She uses that top one, but then she also uses the Cinerax
oh, that's right, that's right,
below
that's
it.
right.
And so he doesn't get that it's another poison on top of it until it's almost too late.
Yeah,
And so it's like he predicts most everything until that point.
yeah. I I love it still because there's because at that point you learn that just like Bane, the idea of the rule of two actually came from Darth Revan. But and we talked this very little in Super Civil Servants with Nathan. Uh, the fact that Bane was the first to actually use the rule of two, but the idea of it was from Revan. So,
And
like,
Revan kind of architected it into being like, okay, you should have a master and an apprentice, but he doesn't specifically say there should only be two masters and
yes,
apprentices.
that is true. That is true. So, like,
Mhm.
from that point on, you're like, okay, who is going to be Bane's apprentice? And of
Mhm.
course, they put Giffany there in all of their prior experience with training and all of this. And so you automatically assume it's going to be Giffany. It's going to be Giffany. It's going to be Giffany.
Yep.
And then there's always those moments of, and I feel like every single time, each character that you kind of think, or even that Bane kind of thinks, oh, this person's going to be my apprentice, they always say one thing in common: you're going to lead the Sith. You're going to
Yeah.
lead the Sith because that's what everybody thinks is the right thing to do. And Bane's reaction is always the same. It's just utter disappointment. Like, you still don't get it. You still don't get it. And because of that, I have to kill you. And it's just like there is no mercy with Bane at all. And
No.
he says this line, I think a total of 3 times in the book, because at three different times of the book, people are begging for mercy. And Bane says, those weak enough to beg for mercy uh, are not strong enough to deserve it. And he like immediately
Yeah.
kills them afterward. And it's such a dark thing to say. And you have to remember, yes, Bane is the protagonist of this book, but he's the Dark Lord of the Sith. Like,
Yep.
he is supposed to be evil. and I think that's what I love about this book. And there's no sugarcoating anything. Like there's those moments of like him being not okay with killing people necessarily in a way
Yeah,
because he was struggling with his full involvement with the Sith or with the dark side, not the Sith, but the dark
yeah,
side. He wouldn't let it completely take over him. And that is when you find out that like he actually killed his father, not the
yeah.
poisonous minds,
That was
not the heart attack, and not the alcoholism. It was actually him repeating the mantra, I hope you die. I hope you die. I hope you die. I hope you die. And he envisioned his father's heart,
squeezing my
squeezing
heart.
it. And I'm just like, holy crap. And that's when he makes the realization, I killed my dad. And for some reason, even though as shitty as a person his father was, he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
And he was falling from grace, quote unquote, in the Sith Academy, almost to the point where it killed him.
yeah, because he gets beat up by Simrak, who's
Yes.
of a Zabrak of the same species as Maul.
Hmm.
Um, I just this book is just so good, and like there's a reason that I've had this one and not the other two is because A, I didn't know this was a trilogy because it doesn't say on my book like book one of trilogy.
Yeah.
But two is just it's that good. Like I've seriously like the spine is beat up and I'm not like a person who like demolishes book spines. Like it's that good. Drew Karpshin does a great job with kind of illustrating the characters and breaking them down. Even Githany, I can't keep track of how to pronounce it. It's like kind of just illustrating the a the typical evil woman type spiel, but also just kind of forcing you to relate to Des in a sense and kind of opening you up to see, okay, what does convince someone to join the Sith, and do you feel bad for him needing to go this way to get a better life for himself? It's really quite cool. And the Sabak scene, like, or the Sabak chapters where he's just like demolishing the Republic,
Oh,
like,
playing Sabak after he got in that fight.
yeah,
That I absolutely love all that. Just because like he gets to a point and he says this because again, he doesn't know fully anything about the Force.
hmm,
He has heard rumors that like the Jedi and the Sith share this like mystical power, but he doesn't necessarily believe in it or whatever. And but he does mention the fact that like he does have this like quote unquote sixth sense about things and how
hmm,
he can kind of see when things are going to happen, but not necessarily how they happen. And so he's like, maybe that can be like an upper hand or a handicap on my part, but I don't see it as that because I don't force that to happen. I just see when
yeah,
it happens.
yeah,
So I love how everything goes into play with that, and how even when the soldiers finally get fed up with losing, like because that was a very intense ending to that match.
yeah,
They get a sabak with the Joker cards basically, and the soldier gets all pissed off. He throws stuff at the droid, and that's when everybody just starts in a giant bar fight. And um, I can't remember the bartender's
Gorshik,
name. Yeah, Groshik. Um,
Groshik.
he ends up shooting a blaster into the air, and he's like, "Everybody out!" And he talks to
Hmm.
Dez, and he's like, "Dez, what were you doing? Like, everybody
You
was
kept goading them
feeding
on.
everybody was feeding off of you, and even I had to fight the urge not to shoot anybody.
Hmm.
I wanted to shoot somebody, and it took everything I had to just shoot it up in the air. And that is kind of the first inkling of like, yeah, Dez is a survivor, but he's also not a nice person.
Yeah. And it's like something to kind of think about as you read into this. book is this is one of the most evil Sith Lords, like most pronounced Sith Lords in Legends completely. Like to the point where his spirit is like haunting people later on with like Exar Khan and everybody. So it's
See, that's and you said you haven't read the other two books, right?
I have not.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you this. The ending of book 3 has like this like very ominous almost teaser of something, and it's like what is the next book that connects to this? And Joe and Nathan have both said, "Oh, technically there's not a book that directly connects to it." And I'm just like, ah, I'm so mad because it almost has, and this will be the only thing because I do want you to read it. It almost has like an Inception type ending to it.
Ooh.
Like you do know, but you don't know at the exact same time what the hell just happened. Uh, so like in my mind, I'm like, there has to be something that moves this forward. But you just told me, because again, I have not read any legacy book other than the Bane trilogy, that his soul is there haunting people. Well, how? Because of what happens at the end of this trilogy, I'm just like, oh my God, I need to know this. So, those books, you need to send me the titles of those books so I can read those.
I'll
Because
have to look back.
I need more Bane. That's all I need more Bane.
This is
100%.
it's like a minor because it's definitely like Exar Khan as the Sith Lord who kind of haunts everyone, but he's directly influenced from Bane. So that's kind
Mhm.
of more what I was getting into. But I'll look those back up on Wikipedia. Because I don't want to look too much up on Darth Bane until I finish the trilogy, because I
Yes,
just looked up
definitely.
his character and I was like, oh, that's the I probably shouldn't read this. Never mind.
Yes, exactly. Don't read into anything further than what you've already read in the first book. Uh, I will say the two books after this are really quick reads. I feel like they're substantially shorter than the first one, but they're great nonetheless. Um,
Mhm.
but going into, I do want to ask you, how did you feel about this idea of the thought bomb?
The thought bomb is it's basically just like a soul suck, and it's like it feels kind of like the 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 demon thing, the demon lizard in Rising Storm, who sucks the life out of
Yes.
the Great Storm, but bigger.
Yes. Because from what the book says, like in a very methodical, evil way, Bane actually talks the Sith into doing it. Like,
Hmm.
but they make it to where it's like he makes it to where it's their idea. So they're like, oh yeah. Because at this point, people are starting to like hate Bane because they're starting to understand that Bane does not want to be leader, that he actually wants like the destruction of the Sith. And
Yeah.
he has manipulated like he manipulated the blockade and like all these different things in the final battle. So like when they go into this cave to do this thought bomb, this is like just like how you were not ready for, was it Red Harvest is the zombie like,
Yes.
okay, so like this was the most like horror part of the story.
Yeah. And
um
getting into how it like sucks out Githany soul, I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah, but Lord Khan, he was the
Mhm.
one that he's in the center. He's doing his mantra. He's getting everybody focused, all the Sith focused anyway. And when the 100 Jedi go into the cave to stop them, like you hear the description of like, or you read the description of like Khan's eyes, like basically rolling back in the back of his skull, and like it
Mm,
is absolutely terrifying. And then he just claps, and everything is decimated. And
mhm.
The way that the author, I can't remember his name,
Drew Karpchen.
Karpshin, the way he describes it is basically anything that was in within like the first 20 feet was instantly like just combusted. So they didn't have like the they had the luxury of not having to feel anything. They just boom, they were gone. But the further out it went, the weaker it got. But even then is when Giffany, because Giffany, because of how strong she was with the dark side, she finally realized near the end, hey, I don't want to be here because
Hmm.
this is going to be the death of me. And so she tries to get out. And she's like thinking of all these ways she's going to, like, oh, I'm going to seduce Bane and he'll teach me everything he knows and then I'm going to kill him. Like,
She like
again,
gets what Bane was trying to say with like there
yes.
should only be two. I will be his apprentice. I will learn from him, and then I will kill him and take my own.
Exactly.
Um,
And you're like, oh man, like Giffany's gonna be a part of the rule of two. This is gonna be crazy. They're always gonna be fighting and trying to figure out who's stronger. And then she's like, what was that? And this wave of dark force energy just hits her, petrifies her, and she stands still for like just mere seconds, and then she turns into dust. And then even after that, like even the very small pieces of the wave that were like out miles and miles away, they hit Darth Bane during his
yeah,
escape, and even he was affected, but very mildly, um, to get him like constant headaches. I think is
yeah,
what they described it as. Um, just everything within that like last 7 chapters I was on the edge of my seat because there's moments of like, oh, Bane is just like this cool motherfucker that's just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to walk in here and kill everybody. But then there's moments of like, wait, Bane's not going to be able to do this. And then just like how I was saying, Bane kind of made it their idea to do everything.
yeah.
There's this like weird interaction between Bane and Khan where if you're not on the up and up with what Bane is doing, it almost looks like Khan is manipulating Bane, but
Hmm.
Bane did it on purpose to make it look like Khan was the superior. And I just love that. Bane always knew how to get his way. If it meant, you know, kissing somebody's feet for like 3 seconds, he did it, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that because of how it ended up.
Yeah, and it's just throughout the whole book, he knows how to manipulate those people. I mean, we've already said it, but it's just like it's just so cool watching him take his people skills and literally just go, oh, okay, that's how you feel. Now we're gonna do it this way. And even to the point where it's like, yes, he couldn't kill Sibrak at that point where in the dueling circle he just kind of beats him to a pulp like Sibrak did to him. Then you have it's kind of almost like he's manipulating Githany to kind of say, like, oh, okay, I'm still weaker than you in that sense.
But he does finally get his chance to
Yes.
kill Sabrak later when Sabrak goes or when Giffany goes to Sabrak, because the whole point when you first meet Giffany in the Sith Academy was, oh, she realized how powerful this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to Bane, manipulate him into killing him. So that way I don't have to do anything. I don't have to get my hands
Yep.
dirty and I'm on top now. And it still doesn't go her way
Yep.
because, again, Bane saw it miles and miles ahead and was like, okay, I know exactly what she's doing, but I'm going to train in the Force with her. And then I'm going to train in saber combat with
With
my,
Kasim.
yeah, with Kasim. And then I'm going to use both of those skills to kill everybody. I love because again, it was one of those moments where he goes to Sabrak, or well, Giffany leads them to Sabrak, and they have that small fight within that one room in the library.
Hmm.
and he's about to take the final blow on Sabrak, and he's like, wait, you're the stronger one. I understand that now. You can use me. I can be led by you, and we can have our way with anything. Teach me, please. I beg for mercy. And that's when Bane says it again. Those who beg for mercy are not strong enough to have it. And he strikes him down. I'm just like, oh my god, that's
Yeah,
so good.
and it's kind of funny, like looking at the Sith from within, like reading this within the timeline minus Knight Errant. I'm sorry. um, it's funny seeing how the Sith were so cut up in the past is dead, let it die, but then repeated mistakes of the past. Look, because looking from within, like yes, you had a brotherhood, but you were having the same exact issues that that those with the Darth title were having. So it's like you can kind of just see because it's in the Darth Revan book where it just kind of goes back and forth between Revan's perspective and the Sith and the Dark Council. They're all Darth XYZ. And so it's just like they keep going back and forth. And this is the exact same problem, which was what Bane's trying to like prevent the Sith from doing. He wants the Sith to succeed, but he doesn't in his own way. And he's actually learning from the past in this case instead of what was happening with the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
So we did have one question come up. I appreciate Drew's probably not going to read this, but Drew Corruption, I appreciate you retweeting our initial ask for questions. Ashley, I'm gonna butcher this. Houchins, she said this, or I'm sorry, he said, um, can't look at the picture properly. He said this trilogy is my favorite Star Wars of all time. My question is, did Darth Xana ever go to Korriban? And
So I will say we will have to hold on to that because Darth Xana is a character we don't meet until the
I thought it
second.
was.
We
I
we
thought
we
we
do
meet her
meet
briefly,
her at the very end of this story. We
but we
meet
don't
her.
actually get into it.
We don't meet who she is as a character until the second book. So I saw that question as well, and I was like, oh, I think we're gonna have to hold on because I had no idea you didn't even read the second and the third book. So
Let's go.
we will definitely have to hold on to that question. We will answer it. So Ashley, I do apologize, but I don't want to ruin anything for Katie.
And it's funny because before this, I'd literally read all but maybe like 40 books of Legends, and those two were a part of it, of the
Uh-huh.
that 40. But now I'm going back through, and the list is now shrunk to about 25 books that I haven't read from Star Wars Legends that were published by Del Rey. So,
Yeah, so with that, I will say this because I have to bring this up. This stupid, silly, folded piece of paper in my book. I didn't realize because I usually only pick up a book that I have an audiobook of if I'm doing a reread, but I was doing a re listen during work, so I didn't have my book. So I just picked it up now, and this is the first time that I'm actually opening it up to like look through it. There is a timeline of
mhm.
all of the Legends books at the end of this one. And I think it's mainly more so because it was in the original stories as well. Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks
So
exactly like that from the
if you
original
get the
print.
original book, if you get the original like paperbacks, um, because Clay has the Essential Legends collection book. So if you get the traditional paperback, it is the front of the book.
Oh, very nice. So in the back here, it does have the timeline of all the legacy books, and I'm going to be using this a whole lot to start my read of legacy. But also, when you are choosing to pick up these brand new trades for the reprints of these books, make sure that they don't have really silly like mistakes like this one does. Of course, you cannot see this because you are probably listening to the podcast version. But if you go into the YouTube channel and watch this, I'm showing you there is a huge chunk of paper that they had to fold into the book to make it fit. Otherwise, it is protruding out of the book for no reason. I don't know why they would do that. And people from our GUA chat said that it is a common thing when printing books. I'm just like, how big on a piece of paper do they print on these things?
Well, and so the other thing is the first three Essential Legends collection books have several printing miscues on them. The cover is not big enough for the pages, and so the pages actually stick out, so you can see the white around it, and
Yeah.
then it looks like the cover's like off center because of the spine. The spine like kind of leads over onto one side. So I actually ended up returning mine because if it's not obvious, I own all of these already. So I'm like, they need to be point blank perfect for me to repurchase them. Though I may have to break that rule because my girl Mara J is going to be on a new star on it. She's featured on one of them, so I may have to break that. But it's really going to bug me. So, Clay, do we have anything else on the path of destruction?
Um, I don't think so. I will say this for you in your reading of books 2 and 3. Try to remember everything that happened in book 1. And I know
Okay.
that's silly to say, but um, almost every single thing that happens in book 1 plays a part in this trilogy.
Ooh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Um, Obviously, with new Star Wars coming out, we've got Out of Shadows that drops on Tuesday. Um, Hi Ashley. Ashley's jumping in the chat. Thanks. We appreciate you.
Oh
We'll
wow,
answer it
that's
the next
awesome. Yeah.
time. We will answer the question the next time we come back to Bane. Um, Thanks for being here though. We appreciate it. Um, So Out of Shadows for the High Republic drops on Tuesday, so that will be my next read. And then I will be jumping back into Knight Errant to try and finish it off, and then I'll jump back into Bane. Sprinkling in some canon here and there. You know, gotta do it. Gotta stay current. But um I love Path of Destruction, really great book. Can't wait to read the next two. So upcoming episodes for Star Wars Alliance. The next episode, we will be talking about Out of Shadows, by Justina Ireland. That's the next book for the High Republic, as I've said like several times in the past like 2 minutes. But we'll talk about that and the last penultimate episodes of the Bad Batch before dropping into the finale, the following episode, where we might cover another Bane book. I don't know. I got to look at how fast I can read these books. So we will be back in 2 weeks. Um, so that's the first week of August. Ooh. Okay. Have to. Ooh. May have to revisit that. Okay. Anyways, sorry. um, Ashley has said his favorite book of the Darth Bane trilogy is book 1. Time at the Sith Academy is legendary. So, Clay, tell us where they can find you.
Of course, you can always find me on Twitter at fanboyclay. There in the bio of my Twitter, you can find the link tree to all of my shows, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Comic Book Legion podcast, Weird Science Marvel podcast, Weird Science DC podcast, as well as Ranger Alliance, which is also a part of the GUA.
Yes. So I will drop Clay's Twitter and his link tree in the description box below, so you can go check that out. Um, this podcast is on Twitter as well. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A, and the war is very important. Um, I am on Twitter as well. It's at Slice of Katie. My other podcast is Slice of Film. It is also part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network. And that Twitter is Slice of Film One. The next episode for Slice of Film is going to be Princess Mononoke. So very excited about that. I had Isaac, one of my friends from Bam Entertainment, come join me for that one. Very interesting episode. Isaac drops a lot of anime knowledge. So my one concern is audio related. So Clay, I may hit you back up to help me with some audio stuff.
Cool. Sounds good.
But that is all for today, y'all. I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you're listening or watching, and we'll see y'all next time. May the force be with you.